Welcome to the Dawg House Podcast. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Big time rematch. Georgia versus Ole Miss. Sugar Bowl quarterfinals. Got Zach Moreth from the Rebel Walk preview and predict it. Also from Ole Miss side, we look at the whole Lane Kiffin fiasco and how Pete Golding is going to be able to coach this team in the Sugar Bowl. And we look at Kyle Whittingham being hired at Michigan. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the Dawg House Podcast. That really helps out. Dawg House Podcast is back. Georgia versus Ole Miss rematch in the Sugar Bowl. How we doing today, Zach?
Good, Trey. Happy to be on and, hopefully preview another really exciting matchup for Ole Miss and Georgia here.
Yeah, man, Zach, great return guest. He's been on a couple times for us already. Yeah, I wanted to, before we jump in here real quick, I wanted to kind of ask, so I know the whole Lane Kiffin going to LSU and what I guess what I was reading real interesting was Pete Golding. I know he's the head coach right now, the interim, so he'll be the one going forward.
Yeah. So in the process of Lane dragging out the situation, you look around the country and you think of the really good candidates. You got Galish from Southern Florida. He obviously went to Auburn, and then John Sumrall, who ends up going to Florida. Those were probably the two guys who Ole Miss would have targeted, but Kiffin dragged out the situation so long by the time that Kiffin took the LSU job, they'd already taken their new job. So from that point, there was really no other direction to go in. You take into account that Pete Golding has several ties to the state of Mississippi. His wife is an Ole Miss grad. He's going to raise his family there. He's not going anywhere. And that he's an elite recruiter. And bottom line is we want to retain as many players as we can on this roster. So, yeah, I mean, fans can say that Pete Golding might not be the guy for the extended future, but absolutely for the next 2 or 3 years, Pete's going to have to be the one to hold this foundation together and hopefully continue to retain a lot of that talent, especially in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah, from what I read, he's definitely going to be a go-getter and Ole Miss guy seems like. I guess my question I want to go is I know some of the LSU staff or not Ole Miss staff was going to go over to LSU with Lane, so I kind of wanted to see what I was reading the last week. Is that going to be a distraction and like how motivated are they going to be and where the coordinator's actually been focusing on the game? I know a lot of moving parts, so I wanted to see kind of on Ole Miss's end.
Yeah, that's been a really interesting topic of discussion, Trey, especially since we don't really know. I mean, yeah, it feels weird, right? If the LSU staff is coaching the team in the playoffs, it feels like there's going to be some sort level of poaching / tampering going on. But bottom line is someone has to coach this team offensively. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I think in the Tulane game, you go and look, and the offense looked the exact same, right? If not better. So Charlie Weiss Jr. is doing a good job. Charlie Weiss Jr. is not necessarily my concern, but, a guy like Kewan Lacey, the running back, it's like, do you let the running backs coach back into the building knowing that LSU is going to try and get him in the transfer portal immediately? So there's a lot of gray area there, but for this season, I guess I would probably do the same thing because you need guys who are going to coach this team while you have a chance, because bottom line is you're still in the playoffs, even if despite Lane Kiffin leaving, even though the percentage chance is small, you still have a chance to shock the world and win a natty. So you might as well make the most out of it. But yeah, it's been really strange and hopefully a situation that gets resolved quickly and then in the NCAA. But knowing that organization, it probably won't. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this somewhere else, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy times. Did want to ask, you guys took care of business, looked pretty much almost the same as the first meeting with Tulane, but what was the kind of the reaction and feedback from the 41-10 win over Tulane, and when any kind of changes, or what do you think the team looked like?
Yeah, really promising game. Like I said, the big question was, is the offense going to look different because Lane's not there? And the short answer is no. And I think it really comes down to the players, Trey. I mean, when you have a guy like Trinidad who's able to make a lot of plays simply because he has a really good pocket presence and can maneuver the pocket and run as if he has the speed of a running back.
Sure.
Plays are going to happen regardless of who's coaching the team. And Trinidad showed that. Kewan Lacey, again, did a phenomenal job. He was battling a little bit with his shoulder there. That's definitely something to look out for from the Georgia side of things. But again, no, the defense looked great. We kind of expected that when you have a defensive guy who takes over the team, you can expect that group to be fired up. And then on the offensive side, same deal, right? I mean, Kewan was involved. The passing game was great, and Trinidad Chambliss did his thing. So you'd hope that they're able to translate that into this Georgia week, but definitely going to be a different game from the first time around in Athens.
Yeah, you guys definitely took care of business and looked really well, really good. I did want to ask real quick before, since everything kind of happened and it's been several weeks now, when did you kind of know that Lane Kiffin was going to go to LSU? Because I know it was probably the most talked about coaching hire recently and all the drama and everything. And then kind of how does, Ole Miss as a program and fans kind of sit with the whole Lane Kiffin departure?
Yeah, it's not a good feeling, I would say, Trey. I mean, you take a step back, the money, it wasn't that much of a difference. He's going to make a little bit more at LSU, but it wasn't enough to say, hey, I'm going to go change my entire career because of that. And that's my opinion. Lane had a chance to really become a staple in college football and build his own program, similar to how he talks about these discussions with Pete Carroll and Nick Saban that he had. Those are two guys who made their money off becoming the dudes at USC and Alabama, and he had a chance to become that guy at Ole Miss. And now he's going to an LSU program that if he wins a natty, job done, unbelievable work. But that's been done before. It's been replicated at LSU, whereas he had a chance to really create that same product at Ole Miss, become the first guy to really, step into the college football playoff era and say, hey, I'm Lane Kiffin. This is Ole Miss, and we're finally here. He stepped away from that. No big deal. I think the Ole Miss response to that is continuing to fundraise a lot more money that's ever been fundraised before. I think you're going to see direct results of that in the transfer portal, and a lot of motivated fans who are now used to that success and want it to keep going. I don't know if Ole Miss is going to be a college football playoff team next year. There's going to be a lot of changes, but I would anticipate a level of draft picks and talent on next year's roster to be pretty similar when you look back comparing to this year and last year as well. But yeah, I've told my friends, and I've said it myself, Trey, I don't think I've ever disliked a team as much as I dislike LSU right now with Lane Kiffin at the helm. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting, especially when they come into town next year.
Yeah, I just felt like he maybe could have handled it a little differently. I mean, there was a lot of drama just being from a Georgia fan and everything. And I just thought he was really well set up at Ole Miss, had all the resources that he needed and everything. And also maybe a little less pressure. I mean, you still got to perform.
Yep.
And then, LSU, look at the track record. If you don't really win one in 3 to 4 years, man, it can be – they'll cut you, So
and crazy enough, I mean, Lane Kiffin has, in my opinion – 8 NFL guys who are playing in the NFL on last year's roster, probably a top 5, 7 roster in the sport, and he doesn't make the playoffs. I mean, can you imagine if he had last year's talent at LSU and didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah.
The fans it'd be outraged, dude. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how that goes.
And then back to let's just say after the playoffs and everything, do you think Trinidad's going to stay, or is he going to get poached over to LSU, or what's your gut feeling on that?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think Kiffin and those guys are going to target a younger prospect. And Van Buren over there might be that guy, very similar tools as Trinidad, but I think they want to develop someone for several years to come. I'm also pretty confident that because of the relationship Golding and a lot of the recruiting staff has with Trinidad, if he gets the waiver, I do think he would stay. I say that with relative confidence based off what I'm hearing. But again, he hasn't heard anything, and the transfer portal opens on Friday. So the clock's ticking in a weird way, and hopefully Trinidad can get that answer by the end of the week.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And it'd be the whole thing about some of the teams that are in the playoffs kind of navigating the whole transfer portal thing.
It's a nightmare, dude. I mean, like Ole Miss has a guy visiting January 3rd, and I'm just obviously Georgia's doing the same thing. It's like you probably spend half your day prepping for the Sugar Bowl, and then the other half you're bringing in recruits, transfer portal stuff. Ole Miss working on a new staff as well. Like, it's just college football is just not in a good spot right now.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, especially with the scheduling, it's a mess. The only good thing I think out of the past year that they did agree on is having only one transfer portal window.
Totally agree.
The only thing.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, they're struggling, dude.
Yeah. Looking at the matchup, so it's going to be rematch. First one was 40. Georgia wins 43-35, but Georgia had to come. I think they had to win the last 17 points to.
Yeah.
And no defense. I think no one really punted till the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. Looks like point spread 6.5. Georgia is trending up. Defense has been playing a whole lot better. And I know you guys mentioned Lacey. Any other maybe injuries from the Ole Miss? How'd you guys come out unscathed, or any other injuries coming into it?
No, that's the primary one to look at. Kewan, I mean, he's practicing, but Ole Miss would do the same thing. If they heard Nate Frazier had a shoulder injury, they'd probably try and tackle Nate Frazier a little extra harder. And you can imagine the same thing's going to be applied for Kewan Lacey. So bottom line is you got to keep him upright for the whole game, not only as a runner, but I mean, he's one of the best pass blockers in the country in terms of the running back perspective. So aside from Kewan, no one pressing, but still, I mean, that's a pretty major injury update. Definitely one to stay tuned for throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess from what you maybe seen from Georgia, I know we are getting better on defense. Where do you think Ole Miss, a lot of success in the first game, are going to try to maybe focus on the offensive side of the ball with Trinidad? He's very mobile, very dangerous and explosive. Where do you think he's going to focus in, maybe try to put Georgia off their heels?
Yeah, I think you have to let Trinidad maneuver and let him extend plays. You can look at the history of Georgia games. Even dating back to last year, what Riley Leonard did in that Sugar Bowl game. Look at what Trinidad did in the first matchup. The quarterback has to be mobile if you want to have a chance to beat these guys. You see how they're playing absolute dominant performance against Alabama. Bottom line, Ty Simpson, a guy who thrives in pocket passing, looked absolutely clueless in that SEC championship game. Trinidad has to move. There's got to be motion. There's got to be an established run presence. Kewan Lacey runs for 2.6 yards a carry the last time they play against Georgia. That's not going to get it done in really any college football playoff game. Kewan's a guy averaging 5 yards a carry. So when you split that in half, they're going to struggle to set up the pass game. And that's exactly what you saw there in the fourth quarter in Athens. And then on the defensive side of the ball, obviously a pitiful performance the first time against Georgia. But look, a couple guys have returned back from injury. Jalen Braxton's a corner who's probably going to have to play the game of his life. And Andrew Jones is a linebacker who really didn't start playing until that second half of the Georgia game. And then the Ole Miss staff realized, wow, he's probably our best run defender. So you'll see him, number 44, heavy on first and second down. Very downhill linebacker, not great in pass coverage. But, I mean, you need someone to try and limit Nate Frazier, who I think averaged maybe 6+ yards a carry in that first matchup, which absolutely cannot happen if you want to win this time around.
Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe another shootout again, and Georgia is trending up. The defense, I don't know what it was. I think it even started with that game. They maybe switched some things in secondary. A lot of guys grew up because they're a very young team, but the defense is doing really well, top 5 against the rush. So they stop the rush. They usually make a lot of these teams one-dimensional. That's what they did against Alabama, -3 rushing yards, which was impressive. And then I know the only thing I'm kind of worried about in this game is coming the rust, because they did struggle last year against Notre Dame. So it could be good and bad. I think Kirby tried to change up some things.
I agree.
Do some more simulated games. And then from what I was reading from the practice report, we're getting back some guys I was surprised. Ethan Barbour, who had a bad injury at tight end. Colby Young's probably the really shocker, coming off pretty much a broken tibia. He's somehow back. I don't know if you get him a lot, but you might get him in some packages similar to George Pickens when he came back the year against Alabama. So
Yeah.
we're getting healthy. The one I'd really want to know, because Kirby's been kind of keeping it to his best, is if we get Drew Bobo in any capacity, because you heard he's definitely done for the year. And Kirby said, we hope to get him back.
Right.
Malachi Tolliver did really well and fill in against Alabama. So I know, center is always important. So that's something to watch. So I'm feeling pretty good about it on that end. But I guess the rust and kind of where the mindset is for Georgia heading in is what I'm kind of focused on.
Yeah, I do believe that after the first quarter, you're gonna get a really good idea of where this game's headed. And with that being said, the Ole Miss, I mean, the message remains the same. I don't think it's gonna happen, but let's say you get a 14-3 lead or a 21-10 lead, like any score that you're up by 2 scores. Hang on for dear life, because Georgia is going to come back in any sort of capacity. It's not going to remain that way. And the same thing applies if you end up going down. Like, you have to keep applying the pressure and trying to score points as fast as possible. But yeah, this is going to be, in my opinion, Georgia's the best team left in the college football playoffs. So on the bright side, if you beat them, I have confidence you can beat anybody. But you have to do a lot of things right in order for that to happen.
Yeah, we will see on that. And then, since it is in New Orleans and it's the first time college football appearance for Ole Miss, what do you think the crowd and the attendance is going to be like? You guys pumped up on your end, or you think it'll be more 60-40, 50-50?
I think Ole Miss leans a little bit more, only because of and I say this with reasoning. I'm not just out here spewing nonsense. You look at the past crowds of the Sugar Bowl. The last time Ole Miss was there against Baylor, go look at videos of the crowd. I mean, it's 75-25. New Orleans is it's a hot spot. It's a hub for a lot of Ole Miss people, considering Mississippi's right next to it. And then the fact that a lot of Houston, Dallas Rebs are right there as well. And then you take into account that it's the first time Ole Miss is ever in the college football playoffs. I give them a slight advantage, not a huge one. I know Georgia travels like no one else in the country. But I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be a major difference at all. But if you had a gun to my head, I'd say, yeah, it leans Ole Miss a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading too. I was also reading it's one of the most expensive college football tickets compared to the other ones, which is interesting. I think it's averaging like 200 plus.
Dude, it's unbelievable. And I will say, you look at the location, all the other games, like you got Alabama and Indiana traveling to Cali.
Mm-hmm.
And then is Miami the location for Texas Tech and Oregon? It's something ridiculous. I feel bad for the fans, honestly.
Yeah, I did hear that. I think the second one was cheapest was I think or most expensive was Alabama Indiana game. One of them was like $71 plus.
Wow.
I forget it.
I mean,
it's Miami and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowls, Alabama, Indiana. So that'll be out in Cali, like you said, and then Orange Bowl is Oregon and Texas Tech.
That's right. But I mean, yeah, like imagine Georgia and Ole Miss. They lucked out having that NOLA spot, because that trip to Cali for Bama and Indiana people it's gonna be fun, but that's an expensive ticket.
It is, yeah. Completely agree. All right, Zach, we're gonna put you on the hot seat. What's your score prediction? Georgia versus Ole Miss rematch.
Yeah. I think Ole Miss does a much better job. I think both teams do a better job defensively. Hopefully, Georgia punts a couple more times. I'll never forget. I was staying with my buddy who works on the Georgia communication staff, and after the game, him and his friend told me that the Georgia punter's family was in town in Athens for that game and didn't get to see him punt once. So hopefully they're back in town and they can see him punt a couple times. But at the same time, I think Ole Miss is not going to be playing to that level offensively. I'm going to take Georgia 31-28. I think Ole Miss covers. I think it's competitive. I think it's going to be a really fun atmosphere. But I think Georgia's clicking right now. Kirby's going to have them boys ready. And I think this team looks legit. And Ole Miss, not saying they can't win, but they're going to have to do a lot of things right, like I keep saying, if they want to have a chance at this game.
Yeah, I can definitely see that one. I agree with that one. Yeah, I'm going to go with mine. I think Georgia's trending. The defense has really grown up. I wouldn't say it's the 2021, 2022 defense, but they're playing really well. Secondary is going to make some adjustments. I think they're going to limit Ole Miss on the run, especially if Lacey's banged up, because they've been stopping everybody top 5 against the rush.
Yep.
Gunnar Stockton, he plays really well in big games. I know he struggled recently against Georgia Tech, but looked great in the Alabama game. This time off it has given him focus on some things. I think you might see some younger guys in the rotation. They're getting healthier, and Kirby's just got them focused. I think a lot of teams or a lot of people are saying Georgia's kind of under the radar, kind of been focused on Indiana,
Agreed.
Ohio State. I think they're dangerous. Anything happen down the stretch, but I think it's going to be a late rushing touchdown because Georgia's going to really focus on running the ball. I'm going to go 34-24, late touchdown to win it. But I think it is going to be a close game, 4-quarter game. Another one is I think the whole, last year with the tragedy that was terrible that happened that backed it up a game, and Kirby Smart's dad passing away. I just think the universe was just against Georgia. Not saying it's an excuse, but it was just Notre Dame, the better team. So I think that's going to be another one to focus on, coming in with a fresh set of eyes. They're refreshed. So I'm going to go, 34-24, but I think it'll be a really close game. And then Zach, on some of the other games, quarterfinal games, who you got in some of those? You had to focus.
Dude, I'm really struggling with the Oregon-Texas Tech matchup. I think I'm going to go with Oregon there. Lanning and the guys are really well put together, and I think they're really motivated. Not that Texas Tech isn't, but Oregon's been here before, and especially after what happened last year against Ohio State, which was absolutely embarrassing for them. I think they're ready to go. They're locked in and hopefully have a much better time taking care of business in the second round. Bama, Indiana. I think Indiana holds on for this trade. Alabama's a little too inconsistent for me. And if Oklahoma, in all honesty, if Oklahoma played how they did in that first quarter, it would have been a blowout. If Mateer makes a couple better decisions instead of just throwing picks and pick sixes. I think Mendoza is the Heisman winner for a reason. I'm taking Indiana. Obviously, Ole Miss, Georgia, we just talked about that. I think UGA comes out. And then Ohio State, you look at what happened after last year when they lost against Michigan. A similar deal. They lost a heartbreaker to Indiana. I think they come out absolutely ready to go, guns blazing. I think they take care of business against Miami.
Yeah, definitely agree. I'm with you on those. I think Texas Tech, really good defense. I'm kind of just not sold on their offense.
No, that's my problem.
Yeah, they're kind of the dark horse. I really don't know quite what they have. They look really good on film. They've done what they needed to. I'm just not sold on them quite yet. I think I'm with you on that. Alabama, I think you're going to run in Indiana's good everywhere, and you can't run the ball. And I still think this is not something you can really change, because you're going to can't run the ball and you're going to be one-dimensional. And I think Indiana's going to really focus on that. Mendoza's a problem. I can see Alabama hanging around in there and making the game, but I just think they run out of bullets eventually.
I agree.
We talked about Ole Miss, Georgia. And then I am interested in Miami, because Miami's got a really good defense.
That's true.
And they got the same talent equally, but I'm with you. Ohio State might be a buzzsaw and they might make another run like last year, especially coming off that loss. They're sitting there kind of focusing in on that. So I like Ohio State, but it could be a little closer. And it kind of depends on what Carson Beck do we get. Does he turn the ball over and force it in there, or does he get hot? So I'm kind of with you on that, but I agree with the same picks on that.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. And Trey, I don't know about you, but I am loving having the last game of the day. Because, look, if we play first and Ole Miss loses for me or Georgia loses for you, it's like the day is ruined. Like, I don't even want to watch the game. So now we can kind of sit back and put our emotions aside for a little bit and just enjoy the first three games before that 7 p.m. kick. Or 4 a.m. kick for those in Qatar like you, Trey.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then the getting a little appetizer, Miami against Ohio State on New Year's Eve, that'd be good too.
Yeah. Again, the Miami defense, it should be a closer game than I think people think.
Yeah, I guess if I was betting, man, I might take that 9.5 if you get it at 10.
That's a big one.
And then one last question for you, Zach. I wanted to see, what do you think about over the weekend, Kyle Whittingham to Michigan hire? with the whole Michigan debacle. But what's your thoughts on that?
Really weird situation, first and foremost. And it sounded like he wanted to stay at Utah, and they kind of just shoot him away. I mean, I'm looking at social media, and Utah fans are relatively pissed off, which is never a great sign for any university. And then Michigan, this whole thing has been absurd. I'm pretty surprised that Underwood and a lot of those guys are coming out and staying. I know this, the recruiting staff and the positional coaches are all staying the same, but this has just been a ridiculous situation. And I'm curious how that works out, man. It's been weird. And again, kind of probably not the best look for Utah, especially in a year where I don't know who you go to replace him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought it was, looking at it, it was an interesting hire. So X's and O's and winning, he did a lot better at Utah with less resources. So I think that's a positive. I don't know if it's a long-term solution with his age, if you get 3-4 years out of it, but it could be a good stepping stone. But he runs a clean program, so you're going to help with the whole debacle what they had previously. So I think that's a safe hire, but you might be, if he can get that kind of 9-10 win, 8-10 program,
like
and get him going, set it up for the next person. But or you never know, he could stay a while. But he did really well with Utah, and he always got the best out of his teams with talent. So
I
he
agree.
might be better with different resources. So
again, Michigan is a premier program, and you hope that a guy who can finally restore, like you said, the feeling of cleanliness and doing things the right way can take that same approach and hopefully win some games for them.
Yeah. I think he was the longest tenured current college football coach, which was great. 20 plus years.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So. Don't quote me on that. I believe though. He was there ever since. Urban Meyer, he replaced Urban Meyer at Utah. That tells you anything.
Wow.
So I think I read that.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I can see why. You know what, dude? If I was a fan too, I'd be like, "What are we doing?"
He always did everything clean there too. No issues. Off field or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really strange. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yep. And then Zach, how do we follow you on social media?
Yeah, guys, you can tune into my Twitter at Zach Moreth, same spelling. Sorry about my dog barking upstairs. TheRebelWalk.com, the Rebel Walk YouTube, all that good stuff. Trey's got it pulled up for you guys. But yeah, tune in. We got people going to the Sugar Bowl. And I told him, hopefully we somehow pull out this miracle. I'll be there tuning in live in Phoenix, which would be an absolute blast. But again, thanks for having me on, Trey. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Over 50,000 followers, Rebel Walk. Also, their YouTube's over 1,000 subscribers. That's always great. Follow them. Check them out on that.
Appreciate you, Trey.
Yeah, man. Happy holidays. Hope it's a good game, Zach.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Thank you, guys.